Welcome to Marvelicious Toys. We bring you news and reviews of Marvel toys, statues, and more. Because not all Marvel collections can be bagged and boarded. They're not just toys, they're Marvelicious.
I'd be remiss if I had you on the show and we didn't talk about some of the better quality, more highly articulated, and yeah, of course, more expensive figures that are out there, you know? The S.H.Figuarts being my favorite of the import Japanese toys have been teasing us since, God, I think it was last October that some of those magazine grainy shots were leaked out showing that they were doing Age of Ultron Avengers lineup.
They know they're sexy and they love to tease.
I've been super excited about this. You know, they showed Hulk, Thor, Cap, two different Iron Mans now. We got the Mark 42 and the 43, which, as we talked about on the last episode, is kind of the debut of that armor.
Actually, we got the 43 and the 45.
Is that what it is? Yeah, the Mark 43 is the inverse of the 42. You're right. And then the 45 is... 44 must be Hulkbuster then.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, you know, we haven't seen anything that actually confirms that, but I mean, you know, come on. What's the missing link here?
So, you know, Geof, you're kind of our resident expert, and I've only ever really bought, let's be honest, the Iron Man ones, you know, so everything I'm used to here are the armored figures. I've never bought a human.
Okay, I was going to say, because, you know, frankly, they haven't done any other Marvel characters that weren't armored up to this point. So, you know, you're up to speed. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, they started mainly doing figures of really popular canon, you know, legend TV series like Kamen Rider and Super Sentai, which we know as Power Rangers. And so, you know, the way that they've sculpted them, they looked very much like people wearing leotards. And so, but now they've, you know, they advanced into other areas like Dragon Ball and video game characters and such. And they've really got, it's like they have the articulation system just down. It's unquestionable. You're really not going to find anything better in terms of posability and balance and just overall quality at anywhere near that price. There are other options, but they kind of suck. So,
yeah, I mean, not to bag on other ones, but you know,
let's bag on them.
Well, when I first got into some of these imports, like the first ones I bought were Revoltech stuff, and they looked great. But then when I got my hands on them, they felt kind of cheap, and the articulation sure was awesome, but they also fell apart.
Yep. They do. And that's another thing, which is, you know, about Japanese figures. And that's translated into some of the American toy lines like Transformers. They would rather have a part be able to pop off than break. And, you know, I can see the logic in that, but I would rather really, you know, when I look at my Mafex Batman Dark Knight Rises figure, I would really prefer it if his shoulders would stay in their sockets when I try to pose him holding the EMP rifle.
I have that same figure, and his right arm is never on.
Yep. And is the torso, mine is both shoulders. I had heard that they were doing another version of him, and I'm kind of thinking, gee, I wonder if I should, you know, be a sucker and fall for it. Maybe they've improved it, but, you know, it's Metacom. They probably won't. Ban Dai, on the other hand, they have a much higher tendency to actually care about the quality of their products. So, you know, with stuff like this, I mean, yes, you pay a lot more for it, but I mean, if you're fine with that sort of balance, you really do get what you pay for.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the way I kind of look at it is, you know, if they're only doing 4 or 5 figures over the course of every 2 years, because this is, to me, this lineup here is their big shebang for the next year and a half. You know, I don't see them supporting Ant-Man in this way, or, you know, even the next Captain America movie in this way. This is kind of like, hey, the whole team's back together. Let's get as many out as we can. So this might be an expensive year for them, but averaged out over the course of collecting, it's not that bad, you know, and I'd rather have an awesome quality Thor that I paid $60 for than end up with a bunch of different Batroc the Leapers and other figs that I didn't necessarily want.
I always, you know, this is a side note. I can never look at the name Batroc the Leaper and not think of Batroc the Leper. I think it would be so much more interesting a character that way.
And ironically, his arms don't fall off on those Hasbro figures. So
Batman the Leper.
I mean, I'm saying that's not to bash on Hasbro. I've been a Hasbro collector, always will be a Hasbro collector. But what we're talking about here is is obviously the higher quality and the higher price point that you can expect from these Figuarts.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another level. I mean, the Legends figures that are out now for the Age of Ultron, Hulk, he is really a fantastic figure. They did, just by changing the torso and the head, the likeness is just dead on this time around. You know, the one from the first movie was kind of more of a, comic adaptation of the movie sort of design, where he was like, just super bulky and heroic and, upper body and all that. And I mean, Hasbro, they just, I'm looking at it right now and I'm still really, really kind of astounded that I'm not holding the Marvel Select figure in my hand. They improve so much with each successive try. But then, like you said, again, with something like this, it's kind of like winning the reverse lottery if you get one that has a flaw. If that makes sense. It made more sense in my head before I said it.
I think I follow you. It's okay. It's just, you're super unlucky if you happen to find a bad one.
Yeah. I mean, and sure, I mean, it can happen. I mean, I remember one of my Iron Man figures that had like a tiny, very super, almost microscopic chip at the edge of one of his chest panels. It's the exception, not the norm.
Right. See, now for me, going back to the difference between their human characters and their armored characters, I don't want to say I'm concerned, but over on the Star Wars side, Figuarts started offering some stuff too. And so far they've shown a Stormtrooper, a Darth Vader, and an Episode 6 Jedi Luke.
Yes, that Jedi Luke. I love that Jedi Luke. I'm sorry. I don't care what anyone says. I think that is an awesome figure.
Well, and here's how I went down on that. I ordered that Stormtrooper without hesitation, knowing the quality of Figuarts and how good it looked in preview shots. I was like, yes, no problem. Take my $60. Here you go. I looked at the Darth Vader and everything looked pretty sweet. The helmet, the body and everything. What I couldn't get past was the cape. Yeah,
I know. Even I have issues with that. And I can, I will always prefer a vinyl or PVC cape, robe, whatever sort of accessory you have over a cloth one, because they never do the cloth ones right. Even when they do the stitching, the hem on, two of the edges, it's just that they're never meant for that scale. Even on a 12-inch figure, they're really not meant. That material isn't meant for that scale. But this one is like, wow. I mean, they tried this on Rebel Tech when they did a Batman Begins, and it didn't work then, and this doesn't work now.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about the hinge in the cape and trying to keep it articulated. It just
stop right there. Hinge in the cape. End of sentence.
Exactly. So I skipped Vader over there, which was kind of weird because he's armored, and then the Luke is one that I didn't pull the trigger on, and then the more I thought about it, I wish I had. So it's like, okay, so I'm walking that line of knowing that I love the armored ones and the human ones have grown on me the more I've seen them. So that brings us to basically Thor. I mean, Captain America, well, seriously, because Captain America is going to have his cowl on. Hulk's a big monstrous guy. Thor's the one that I'm concerned with because he has a cape and you can see most of his face.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Surprise, surprise, it's a Japanese design company and these figures have somewhat of a manga anime feel to them. But it's, I know. I mean, it's this whole Bishonen, pretty boy syndrome. And there's some aspect of that where they're always going to have this sort of beauty element to them. And Thor's got it in spades. And when you look at him, it's like you kind of wonder. It's like the hair. It doesn't look like it's on correctly. It's like it looks as if they put the hair piece on at the last minute, but didn't get it centered. They just sort of twisted it off because it looks odd.
Yeah, you're right. The hair is what's really doing it for me, or not doing it for me. It's what's making me a bit concerned about that one.
Come to think of it, Cap's looking a little femme too, but he looks awesome. I mean, that figure is, I cannot wait to own that one.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, to run it down, I'm super excited for Cap. I'm super excited to plunk down money on eBay for Hulk because I wasn't able to pre-order him in the 10 minutes he was available. And, the new Cap or the new Iron Man armor looks pretty sweet too. And I've never been disappointed with any of the Iron Man ones.
Yeah, I'm not planning to buy the Mark 43, but the Mark 45, absolutely. I mean, that is, I remember you guys mentioned this in the previous episode. I mean, that has such a classic streamlined look to it. And also just super ultra modern look to it, which I'm sure is why they went with it in the movie. I see that figure and it almost makes up to me, not having the Mark 7 or the Mark 17 in the 6-inch scale. And I know Figma did a Mark 7, but
yeah,
that's too expensive for me.
Well, I mean, seriously, Figuarts could make an entire career and quit doing the rest of these figures and just backfill the entire Iron Man Hall of Armor, and I'd be totally fine with that.
Yeah, but another company tried that, and they were called Play Imaginative, and look how well that turned out.
Yeah, but yet another one is in the middle of doing it, Hot Toys, and they don't show any signs of stopping. So, But looking at these, and we talked about them a little bit last week, Arnie had mentioned Hobby Link Japan as a place over in Japan to actually order from, and over here, Big Bad Toy Store is known to get these. Well, guess what? These are all pre-sold out on both those websites. So how do we go about getting our hands on these outside of hoping somebody on eBay is not trying to scalp the hell out of them?
Oh, I was just going to say, does eBay have a jingle? Because this would be the time to play it. But I don't know. It's like these type of things. There really is. There's Big Bad Toy Store, Hobby Link Japan, Ami Ami, and there's one other that I'm forgetting right now. But I mean, they're all gone. They stopped their orders, and unless they happen to get in a ton of stock, and that's the other real kind of pain in the ass about Figuarts is they really don't get reissued.
Yeah.
And it's like they come out and you get them once in a blue moon. There have been exceptions, but for the most part, once they've come out, once they've been announced, they're gone. But again, it's not hopeless. I mean, last year, 2 years ago, when I was still looking for the Mark 6 and the War Machine figures, I was still able to find them on eBay, like, two of them paired together for about $110 or $120 shipped, which is pretty damn close to what they would have cost anyway. So, don't give up. But I mean, especially with these, I mean, I just look at this Captain America and I just can't get over how just phenomenal it is. I mean, it's so good that it makes that stupid red trim around his chest, around the star on his chest. It makes that look good. I mean, you've seen the shots that they have, like, they've been out now for like at least a couple of weeks, but they've got, the 4 different guys in different poses. And you've got like, Cap has 2 different heads. He's got like, angry screaming head. And then like, hey, pouty Chris Evans head. And I'm not sure, I read this on one site and I haven't been able to confirm it anywhere, but there's something about posable eyes.
Oh, wow.
Now, on something like that, it would be astounding. I'm going to assume that somebody mistranslated something somewhere because Hot Toys has done that. I have a Batman from The Dark Knight that has posable eyes. The Joker can do that too. But if they were able to do that on a 6-inch scale figure, so I think that's probably somebody read something the wrong way. But even without it, I mean, some of these pictures, the still of Cap, he can grasp his shield. He's got so many different hands. He can hold his shield by the edge, getting ready to throw it, getting ready to catch it as if it's thrown back at him. He can wear the thing on his back. I love Captain America. This is such a damn good figure.
In the past, I've kind of called these mini Hot Toys, and I think that's still a pretty apt description. I mean, with the exception of a few missteps in hair and stuff like that, these are all very awesome. Here's one thing I gotta say. A couple years, was it last year or however long ago the pre-order came out for the Iron Patriot, he sold out in a blink too on all the regular channels. And, I kept an eye on him on Amazon, and I eventually picked him up for around $80, which wasn't too bad. I'm looking on Amazon now. He's still available. You can get him for $69.50 shipped.
What?
So
I'll see you later.
So I'm kind of wondering, is that against the norm, or can we expect maybe some of these figures to be super hyped now and then 6 months from now be able to pick them up, on the secondary market?
That's a good point because God knows with Amazon anything's possible.
Yeah.
I look at the like on if you currently go to Tamashi's webpage for the Age of Ultron figures, they have the 4 of them laid out there, and they have the release months. September for Thor, July for Hulk, and Captain America, and April for the Mark 43 Iron Man. But once those are gone, when you think about it, the first Avengers movie, they really didn't know how huge it was going to be. And now everybody's expecting Age of Ultron to be that and more. So it really wouldn't surprise me if they somehow struck a deal with Bluefin Distribution to get them out here somehow. Of course, the big obstacle is, will this, step on Hasbro's toes? But I mean, hey, if there's money to be made, I'm pretty sure somebody will find a way to do it.
Yeah. So while I'm nervous that Hulk is just seemingly gone in the wind at this point.
Can we just refer to him as Romulan Hulk? Because, I mean, seriously, look at the head. He's a Star Trek villain, really. I mean, the body is awesome, but yeah, the face is... He does. He's got like those eyebrows. He looks like
Well, it looks like Hulk comes with multiple heads as well, because in a couple different shots he's got his mouth open and mouth closed. So maybe some fist hands. Oh
yeah, that's the other great thing about them is just they always come with some sort of accessory, and there have been ones that have had fewer than others, but they always at least come with a few hands. And in this case, it seems like Thor only has one head, but he does have Mew Mew in two different forms. Like one that he holds by the handle and the one that he holds by the strap. But he's about to make himself fly.
Oh, unnecessary, but okay.
Yeah, true. So yeah, so he doesn't have alternate heads, but he has alternate Mew Mew.
So these are the figures that they teased, and these are the figures that actually went up for pre-order. But in that tease, there was a silhouette of what looked to be, Hulkbuster back there.
Yep. This is one thing that, if it were any other license, I would point back to the numerous times that Ban Dai has teased images, especially with Figuarts, and even shown full production figures, or at least full painted prototypes of figures that have never come to fruition. So that is a distinct possibility here, but given that it is going to undoubtedly be the hugest movie of the year, and they're already, teasing that silhouette in there, it damn well should be coming. I have no idea what it will cost, since it kind of dwarfs Hulk, who's already pretty expensive.
Yeah, we didn't mention Hulk, is right around $95 US. So you almost pay per pound here. The lighter, smaller figures, you're at around $55, $60. So yeah, we can almost guesstimate that Hulkbuster, if it exists and if it comes out, I would say maybe $150, $175. So yeah, all in all, I'm jazzed as can be that this line is going this strong. And like you said, let's hope maybe they find a way to get them over here in better numbers.
Yeah. Even with Thor, I mean, we kind of razz him a little bit for what, his hair and his articulated cape. But I mean, when you look at the rest of the figure, there's just so much there. I mean, there's so much great sculpted detail on the front. And the beauty of it is almost none of that is going to get in the way of his posability.
Yeah. And, I can kind of tell by looking at some of these pictures that cape is hinged, but it looks like it's hinged up near the shoulder where the flap would be anyway. I mean, all in all, if Thor was the only figure that they were coming out with for some reason, I think I'd probably skip it. But Thor, together with the rest of these, I can't not have him.
You know what? I have to take back what I said about Thor and the pretty boy aspect of this figure, because now that I'm looking at a much closer zoom on his face, he just looks confused. I mean, it doesn't. He's probably confused as to why his hair's laying the way it is. But Cap, there you go. Cap actually is kind of pretty, but that's the way it is. It's just these figures and their design, they fall in line with a style that I cherish from my childhood. I mean, like, in the mid 80s, when everything was hand animated and you had some of those super detailed exceptions, like the Transformers movie, Macross, stuff like that, where like all these lines were drawn everywhere. And stay with me, I'm getting to there, but like a year or two ago, there was a short for TIE Fighter, and it was like the Empire's point of view of a rebel battle, and it was all done in this traditional animation style, even though a lot of it was computer. And something like that, I've yearned for something like that to be done with Marvel properties. Because, for so long, most of their animation projects have been, hit and miss. And even with the full out anime stuff, it's like the kind of choppy animation. But I see these figures and their design and style falls right in line with that sort of thing. So personally, for me, it hits a really, really sweet spot. And for you, it may not, but I'm not you, and that's all that counts.
Well, and see, For me, I would say that I don't look at these and anime does not jump out to me. You know, I can see the influence in there, but they don't look like a shoujo or a big-eyed, you know, anime type of thing, you know. I mean, they look like they're trying to capture movie likenesses.
Oh, you should have heard the online those first Iron Man figures came out. Oh, he looks like he's from a manga. Oh, his face is too flat. Ah, up yours. It's a cool figure. Buy it, you rat.
So yeah, I guess where I come from is it's, you know, I'm an articulation snob. These have that in spades. I'm a quality snob. These have that in spades. And, you know, if some of the sculpts are slightly off, that's where I can be a little more forgiving when the quality, the articulation, and the heft is there. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to these, and it looks like they're going to be expected to ship, you know, starting in July and up until August. So over the course of a couple months late this summer, these should start hitting American shores. And hopefully by then we'll get back together and do a good team review on all of these.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, at least that way I wouldn't have to buy all of them at once to review them. You could buy some, I could buy the others.
Thanks for watching this video. You can see full episodes of Marvelicious Toys with more collecting news and reviews at marvelicioustoys.com. We also have thousands of toy and collectible photos in our photo gallery. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, make mine Marvelicious.